Fear is a huge topic, and I'm sure I'm going to make several videos on it. Many people think that fear is the opposite to love. I personally don't agree with that, because love is all-inclusive, which means fear is part of love. We can call it an outgrowth of love. And fear is not all bad either. It has, like anything in this reality, a positive and a negative. The positive side of fear, of course, that it does give us the adrenal rush that we need to get out of danger zones. But basically, fear is the assumption that we know for sure what will be best for us and others in the future, which of course is total madness, because who knows what kind of experiences we have to go through and where we have to be. But our ego likes to think it knows, and if it doesn't get its way, it makes us scared. So now let's look at some simple techniques of how we may be able to turn the negative feeling of fear around and make it positive. We know that fear is a contracting emotion. You know, we get it all tied up in our belly and so on. That's fear, contracting emotion. It begins with a sensation, a feeling in our body. We have got here the sensation. Maybe by something we have heard, we saw, or by a thought. And this sensation triggers off an old fear program in us. And we suddenly, boom, are drenched in fear. And fear takes over our whole body. And as we know from the law of attraction, that like attracts like. So by oozing out all this fear, we may actually attract the very thing that we fear. Like an illness or an accident here, with a broken foot. Fear can be a very paralyzing and terrifying emotion. But if we look at it from a spiritual perspective, we can turn it around and let fear work for us instead of against us. Let's say we have been fearful for a while. We can sit down on a chair for this exercise. This exercise is called focusing and was developed by Dr. Eugene Gendlin. That's a wonderful exercise which I strongly recommend for any kind of emotion we have which we don't like. Like with any other emotions that we have, the first step is always to acknowledge the emotion of fear in our body. We have to take responsibility for our feeling. We have to own it without judgment or desire for a specific outcome. We close our eyes there and we carefully explore where in our body the fear is. Where do we feel it? In our tummy, in our shoulders, in our neck. And how does it look? What shape is it? Does it have a color? We do this without judgment for a few minutes, just observing. And now we take some deep breath and breathe into the fear, making it even bigger. We're not afraid of it anymore. We own it and we make it big because we know what we resist will persist. And the next step is to shower that fear with all the love that we are capable of. For another few minutes, we give it all the love that we have. In our mind, we drench it with love. We soak it. Also very important, we love ourselves for having that emotion of fear. Remember, love is an expanding emotion. And it can cancel out the contracting emotion of fear. I'm thinking of the old story of the old Quaker woman who was sitting in a meeting, and when one of the other Quakers asked her for her opinion, she said, "I'm sorry, but I'm a little deaf. I couldn't hear the question, but I do know the answer. The answer is love." And love truly works for everything, including fear. After this initial approach, the fear usually has lost some of or all of its initial power. But now let's look at another perspective at the emotion of fear. Did you know that the emotion of fear, or the body sensation of fear, which I mentioned earlier, here we have got the guy, and there's the body sensation, is identical to the one we have when we are excited? It is only after we have filtered it through our mind. The body sensation will either become an oh no experience or oh yes experience. We either respond with positive or with negative. It's the same energy. A typical example is a ride on a roller coaster. When were you last on a roller coaster? You remember, here is the little car and there are two people in it. One is hilariously happy and says, this is the greatest experience in the world. And the other one is horrified. This is the most horrible experience in the world. It's the same feeling, different interpretations. Or think about all the people who love to watch horror movies. They do it because of the excitement that fear provides them, the utter thrill. Dr. Fritz Perls says, fear is the excitement without breath. And when you remember to breathe with it, it turns into excitement within seconds. Remember the breathing we did earlier in the focusing exercise? We breathe into it and it becomes excitement. And now we can change our attitude toward fear. We can begin calling our fears adventures. Yes. And then we will enjoy its exciting, stirring sensation. If we love it and accept it, fear will fulfill its true role it has for us. It will propel us forward. It will get us out of our old comfort zones, because life begins at the end of our comfort zones. Life is constant change, and resisting these changes gives us fear. And the best thing to overcome fear is doing what we fear. And it is much easier when we do it with a sense of adventure. Somebody once said that the letters fear, F-E-A-R, stand for feeling excited and ready. So instead of fighting fear, we can actually use it for our growth and benefit.